You're on the road beyond. I'm Todd Duplantis. Welcome back. It's good to be back with you live on the air. Usually here every Monday, live at 7 p.m. Glad to have you with us tonight. We've got a lot to unpack in the show. We're talking about new UAP sightings. You remember UAP? Unidentified aerial phenomena. That's the current name going forward. We all know it as UFOs. And we'll be talking with someone about alien abductions as well. We have a full house tonight of our sky watchers, people who have dedicated and successful look at UFOs and UAPs. Joining us live from across the sea and also from, I believe, up on the East Coast right now. Les Durrant is a ufologist. And Les, good to have you back with us on the show.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, all kinds of stuff going on here recently. Yeah.
Now, you also brought a guest on last time. We want to bring him back. Nigel Impey is with us as well, another ufologist. Nigel, join us from the UK where you say it is late at night. We appreciate you being on the show with us. Let's see, you're still muted. Let's see if we can get you unmuted, and we'll get to you in a second. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. over here in Northampton, UK. Clear skies, bit cold, but hey, what do you expect for November? Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back again, and it's an honor and a privilege to be asked back again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Nigel, you're going to show us a picture of an art of the moon, a moon that is also, many people believe, is an ancient space station. Show us that picture here.
Well, here's the thing about that, which is fascinating about this. I believe I've seen this picture here. It is, and I understand where they're coming from with this. If you remember, Scotty and Nigel and Les, you could probably comment on this. Do you remember about 5 or 6 years ago where someone came up with an idea to shoot a missile at the moon and measure where where it went down and the vibrations? What was that for? Because obviously this isn't the first time someone has thought the moon might be an ancient space station.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Apollo astronauts pounded on the moon, and they it was like metal, and it sounded hollow. Okay, that has been a fact that is part of Apollo history. And no one knows the true answer.
Right. Nigel, tell us a bit about this picture.
Well, I believe, that anything and everything is possible. For one thing, as Scott just said, when they, and it sounded hollow, sounded metallic, and I've heard stories about, like, basically that the NASA actually got or the beings that created this hollow space station, like for want of a better word, fake moon, basically came down to Earth and gathered desert sand and covered this fake moon in desert sand.
Well, Leslie, I want to bring you into this as well.
Yeah.
Why didn't we go back to the moon, in your opinion? I've heard rumors that we were told not to come back after one point. And what's your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I really do not know. Other than, to me, it sounds a little too close. And to me, it seems like we've already got bases on the moon anyway. And that's probably one of the reasons why they don't want us going back there, is because it's going to be a lot easier now to find those bases. And I think,
to be honest, I've heard that, the military, or NASA, sorry, when they got there, they encountered beings that basically, told them, like, that they didn't want us going back there. Right. I don't know how true that is, but...
Well, if you think about it, we had a program, and, they were launching rockets to the moon, when they don't have the same technology that we have in our cell phones. Think about doing that. We invested so much in this. We went to the moon several times, and then all of a sudden, just like that, it stopped. It was over. Yeah. That was done. That's it, really. And the technology. I mean, we created space shuttles, for crying out loud. Use it, went out to space. None of them went to the moon, or so we're told. So we want to continue on with our show. We've got a very special guest tonight. She's known as the Bird Lady of Kent, Connecticut, Kathleen Solway-Cassell. Good to see you, Kathleen. Thank you for being on the show. Let's see if you can unmute your mic. Well, we're in a few technical difficulties.
Go to your screen there and unmute the mic. We can't hear you.
Yep. We still got some issues, Kathleen. So if you can mute the mic, we'll get to you in a second once you get unmuted. But let's, if we could, let's take a look at some pictures just to set up where Kathleen is living. She's in the small town of Kent. It's a quaint little village in New England, and she lives in the back of a home overlooking a large backyard from street view. And there's apparently a white retirement home on Elizabeth Street. And according to Kathleen, she was abducted at one point. Kathleen, have we been able to see you get your mic undone yet?
Talk to us.
No, still not unmuted. Yeah, we're going to, if you look, you can hover over a button that says mute and unmute, and you should be able to take that off. All right, so we've had a few technical difficulties with Kathleen, but let's bring back in Les and Nigel to continue our discussion on what may or may not have happened on the moon. Right. But Les, you had, and we talked about this before, you and both Nigel have a way of capturing UFO activity and getting some very interesting things on video and on picture. Maybe you can tell us about some of the most recent things you've been able to get on.
Yeah, actually, this is crazy because Nigel told me about this, and I think we touched on this a while back when we were last talking about how we can actually contact them, and it's very easy. We use a telepathy with our minds. And we also use a vocal request. In fact, I made a video. I call it Request and Dedications. And Nigel told me about this. And I even had a friend of mine who's in a movie with me. It's called Encounters, the complete interviews. And his name is Dave Baker. He was abducted a few times. He came up to my house from Florida, and he even saw us use this technique, and he was able to contact a craft, and just like that. And that's kind of my new catchphrase right now, just like that. But he called it in his mind. Yeah. And as he was calling it in his mind, I saw it. I saw it go across. And we do this almost every night that it's clear. Me and my wife do it. And it's just so amazing that it's just so easy to do.
Well, your experience has been a lot different than I know our other guests. Kathleen, have you been able to get your mic unmuted? I know I saw it a second ago. It looked like you had it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
There we go.
Okay.
So, Kathleen, let's talk about your experience. First off, you're known as the Bird Lady of Kent, and you watch the skies for birds and unidentified aerial phenomenon, UFOs, whatever we want to call them nowadays. Show us it. I know you sent in some pictures of a view outside of your place, and maybe you can set up, because you had an experience where you say you were abducted. So let's take a look at some of the pictures of where you are, and let's get to your abduction experience.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the second floor now. When I first came, I was on the first floor. So.
Okay. And let's talk about the abduction itself, because you captured something, I believe, that was a few days before you were abducted. And this is not that far back. It sounds like it's right before the pandemic in September of 2019. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's right. It was 2019. And I had moved here on September 5th, 2018. right after I had knee surgery. And so anyways, a lot of strange things have been happening, like I would see shadow people in the very beginning. And this was about a year before it happened. And my television was, it was just really crazy. It was not a bad TV, but it would just go like in and out, in and out. And
right.
I thought I was going to have to get another TV. So I bought it, for the Super Bowl in 2019. And, but anyways, there was like a lot of static electricity in the room all the time. And I don't know. I mean, I have like so much stories to tell about it. But
well, Kathleen, let me ask you this. Just before your first abduction, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just before your first abduction, you actually saw a UAP and you captured videotape of small.
Yes, I did.
And that did that set you up for what was to happen when you found yourself basically abducted?
Not at that time, but it was shortly before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also sent in some pictures, Kathleen, of some scratches on your hands. Tell us about that. Did it happen during the abduction? Did you notice it when you got back? And let's get to the abduction itself. I mean, what happens? Is it time memory loss, or, what happens exactly?
Well, for one thing, there were helicopters above us, the house in the backyard, and it lit up the whole backyard. And I thought I was dreaming. And the first thing I heard was actually a jet, a fighter jet.
Right.
That's the first thing I heard. And I had no idea. I mean, I thought I was just dreaming. And so I went to the window, and we have a Kent school right across the river from, at the not the Hudson River, sorry, the Housatonic River, which is also the place where, of course, everybody knows about Tom Reed, the park that he has up in the Berkshires, and he was abducted from right along the Housatonic River. So a lot of times when I see these things, a lot of times they travel up and down the Housatonic River, and sometimes you'll have like military helicopters too.
Right. And I believe we've got a guest that's joining you right now. He's joining us live. Armando Landrian. Armando, welcome to the show. Landrian. Are you there?
Yeah.
You hear me, Armando?
Thank you. How's everyone doing?
We're good. Now, tell us a bit about your role, because Kathleen, yourself. You are the MUFON Facebook administrator. Tell us about. Have you worked with her with MUFON? Do you have to verify these things? How does it work when you have an abductee that is brought to you or seeks you out to get guidance or to just document what happened to him?
Oh, actually, it happened by accident. I have put a post on our Facebook page, and she chimed in and answered one of the questions that we had. And she volunteered some information with regards to an abduction. And so what I did is I encouraged her to file a report with MUFON.
Right.
And she followed through and filed that report. From then on, one of our investigators contacted her and went forward with the report.
Let me ask you this. Have either one of you two dealt with Daryl Sims?
Yeah.
I know about
Yeah.
Daryl Sims, but I haven't dealt with him personally.
He's a frequent guest on our show, and I've known Daryl for well over 20 years. And I know he deals, and Kathleen, I know you said you're aware of him, you know him, because apparently he deals directly with people who have been abducted, but not only just abducted, but have devices that have been planted.
Yes, I have a lot of devices in me, and it drives me crazy sometimes, because I'm like being uploaded or downloaded or something. I don't know what they're doing, but there are days that my body will be like have pulses, and
Right.
my hands and my thighs, and all these places.
I have a question too. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do you have a tri-field meter?
A what?
Do you know what a tri-field meter is?
No, I don't.
It measures EMF.
It's an EMF meter. That's what you need. You need somebody to take a meter and go over you with it. And that's what they use that on Skinwalker.
Can I get it on my tablet?
No, actually, you have to have somebody come do it for you. I mean, they're pretty expensive. They're about $200 and small each.
Yeah.
But it might be something that could help you detect.
Right.
You got one there, Armando?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
You got one right there.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see that. Okay. Wow.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So Armando, let me bring you back into this. You've been working with Kathleen, but it's not the only case that you've dealt with. Tell us about, is it the Madar network that your team's activated and working with since 2018? What exactly is that, the Madar network?
Well, the Madar project was started by Fran Ridge. It's actually a project that he came up with about 50 years ago. And then as the technology advanced and the computers got downsized, smaller, he was able now to bring his idea to the public for anybody that wanted to participate in this project. And basically what it is a small unit about the size of a deck of cards.
Right.
Basically what it is a Raspberry Pi. It has its own, they have their own software that they put in. And there are several sensors in there primarily to detect changes in the magnetic field. And these devices, we now have about 170 worldwide. We have 6 of them in Connecticut, and we should have a new one coming up that is going in Lebanon, Connecticut.
And are people buying these devices themselves and plugging them in with your network?
Yes. Yes.
I need one.
Yeah.
Nigel knows I need one too. Nightly. Yeah.
Where all of these devices are throughout the United States and actually around the world, aren't they, Armando?
That is correct. Yeah. All that information that they're collecting goes to the headquarters in Indiana.
Oh,
Their Fran Ridge has a team of people that monitor these devices. Once a week, they have a meeting and they go over the data that is being collected.
Very interesting.
If it detects anything, it will turn red. An alarm will sound. You get a text message alerting you. We have had cases where there's been correlation between the sightings and the detection by these Madar devices. So they do work.
I'll tell you one thing. My one would be going crazy then.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, mine too. Yeah, me and Nigel are both. We've seen things together at the same time too. But yeah, this little baby right here is my baby too. My little tri-field, and I love it as well. I
mean, I actually had believe it or not, I had a sighting just before we came on air.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah,
we're going to show that next week. Yeah, we're going to show that next week. We want to enhance it a little bit, but yeah, very interesting. That wasn't a helicopter.
Even me and Scott have seen some stuff too.
Whoa!
And even Scott did too. Yeah.
Wow.
I saw some stuff in Italy, in the mountains of Italy. That we'll talk about. in our next podcast. But
So
I even enhanced the from Scott's capture in Italy.
Yeah, he did.
Mhm.
well, we've got another show coming up next week. We'll be delving into a lot of it. Let me ask you this, and I want to pose this to Kathleen and to Nigel, because Kathleen, you've had a self-realization since these abductions, and tell us what you see when you look in the mirror, because apparently you see yourself, same as Nigel, in a different way than we see you, correct?
Yeah, it all started, I think it was in late July or early August. And I had some kind of a training for like 2 weeks in my sleep. And I didn't quite understand it, but I see things, like I will use a blind over my eyes at night, and I can see through the blind a lot of times. I was even getting a message from Nigel last night.
Wow.
Like in the middle of the night. And like he was trying to call me.
And Nigel, you see yourself in a different portrayal as well. I know we have a picture that you've sent us, that this is how artist's conception of how you see yourself when you look in the mirror. Does that happen all the time?
Yeah, basically. I mean, long story short is after my first sighting back in 2014, which was basically a bright white orb of light, which basically came towards me, hovered over my head for a few seconds, and then just silently, under intelligent control, went up the gardens and disappeared behind a big tree in somebody's backyard. And then, like, about 3 nights later, I was laying on the couch watching some TV, and like all of a sudden I wasn't in my home anymore.
Right.
I was in like this darkish room with subdued lighting. It was like a bioluminescence lighting that was coming from the corners of the wall. Right. And basically I was sitting in front of this stainless brushed steel looking like table, like one of these catering tables, like in a kitchen, in a commercial kitchen or something. Anyway, and to the left, in front of me to the left, was one of what I can only describe as a sort of like white grey looking being, like your stereotypical grey.
Right.
And then, bearing in mind I couldn't see any physical doorways in this room. All of a sudden, behind this grate appeared an 8 to 9 foot tall reptilian humanoid. If you know what an iguana lizard looks like, that sort of scale pattern, that sort of color. Right. And he had muscular physique with big, thick legs going down to clawed feet, clawed hands.
One thing I wanted to kind of jump in there with, and as we weave through all these stories we're hearing, when we talk to Kathleen and then to yourself, Nigel, and then Les, and then maybe Armando, you could also comment on this as well. Whether we made contact on the moon, whether we, abductions happen or not, there's something going on where we're being contacted, telepathy, spiritually, in our mind, there's something happening in all these cases. And gentlemen, I imagine you see this a lot. I mean, I know, Les, you have a way of contacting these craft yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we see it on a nightly basis whenever it's clear. Me and my wife do now. Yeah. She can see it. She takes the dogs out in the morning, and she sees them all the time. And then I do too. And basically, it happens around 6 or so p.m. And I guess it would be 6 anywhere, really, based on that time, about the time where it starts to almost get kind of dark. And you just say, hey, is there...
It can happen anytime, can't it? I mean, even during the day.
And
Armando, Armando, if I can jump in real quickly, we've got about a minute and a half left in the show. Is this a common thing you hear where there is some type of psychic connection, whether it be to an abductee or someone who's seen these? Do you hear this as well?
There seems to be some type of connection. There are a lot of people that are being abducted. Some of them are not aware of it.
Right.
Others are getting flashbacks, and then they realize that they have been abducted. There's also the microchips that are being put in them as evidence. Right. And those are being collected right now by Daryl Sims.
Yeah.
It used to be Dr. Lear that used to...
he's worked it. He's talked about it on his show. Armand, Kathleen,
I have a quick question, actually, to Armando. Armando, are there cases, though, where there are people that have abductions but don't have microchips or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to wrap things up because we're approaching a hard out. Les, Kathleen, Armando, Nigel, thank you all for being here on the show. This isn't over, folks. We'll be discussing more of this again next week. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Scotty, thanks for being here.
All right.
Look for us on Facebook, YouTube, as The Road Beyond Podcast. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we'll see you next week.
All right.